for a change?
I am talking to you.
Then get ready to explore the quantum possibilities. It's time to transform that outdated paradigm into something universal and new. Time to uncover the truth hidden beneath the veil of lies. A time to think outside the box as we link to a higher consciousness. Welcome to the awakening. And now the hosts of Broadcast Team Alpha, Nori Love and Augie Nost.
Hello, beautiful beings. So happy to be here again tonight. And it's Tuesday night. It is Broadcast Team Alpha night. How about that? I just commandeered Tuesday night all over the planet for Broadcast Team Alpha. That's pretty gutsy. How are you guys? It's interesting, right? Are you going stir crazy? It's so interesting. So many crazy things going on. And as usual, we're going to go outside of the box again with our incredible guest. He's got a remarkable story, and he's an incredibly talented and gifted person. And I would just like to thank you all for being here. We sure do appreciate you. We appreciate when you hit the donate button. It helps us defray some of the costs. And the roofers are actually here working on my condo tonight. So I am going to turn it over to Augie and mute out. So I'm so happy you guys are here with us. And Augie, let's hear about our awesome guest, please.
Yes, absolutely. We have the internationally famous Jerry Wills with us. And I almost said that he lives in Phoenix, but only kind of. He lives in a large motorhome, and he travels the country and doing his radio shows and exploring nature and sacred sites and archaeological anomalies, and boy, does it get interesting. And Jerry is an internationally recognized healer. He's a teacher, a lecturer, and he has been featured for over a decade on Fox TV for numerous miraculous healings that occurs during his sessions with people. And also Jerry is, and him and his wife, they're world explorers and adventurers. And they have been trekking the Andes Mountains in South America and the Amazon jungle looking for lost cities, exploring shamanism, and looking for ancient repositories of lost knowledge. Jerry was also, he does the Jerry Wills Show, Paranormal Stories, Fantastic Journeys, The Cafe at the End of the Universe. That's an interesting one. And there are, these are each the broadcast live on their web page on Patreon. And you can find his stories from travels, and connect with him at expeditions@mac.com. And that is expeditions@max.com. And a couple of months ago, actually, I went up, I met with Jerry and his wife in their motorhome, and we had a several hour-long conversation, and boy, oh boy, did that get interesting. It has become very clear to me that his knowledge of the universe and how we interact with it, nature, and how we can use the resources we are given by nature and also man-made stuff, can be healthy and sharp, basically forever. So I recommend for the listeners, get a piece of paper and a pen, preferably one that writes, because you may want to take notes on this one, because this is going to get good. So welcome to the show, Jerry.
There we go. How you
Welcome.
doing, Augie? Thank you.
Yeah, welcome, Jerry. So good to have you.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. It's a real privilege to be here.
Aww. Well, I've got all kinds of questions, but I don't want to rush things. But can you? I'm so interested about your early beginnings, a little bit because it parallels mine. So, Can you tell us how your amazing gifts kind of rolled out for you and the unique set of circumstances that brought you here?
Well, at the very earliest, and these are very fragmented memories now. I'm approaching 67 years old. But the things that I remember about my earliest beginnings are having been brought to this world by others. And I wasn't alone. There were quite a few others who were brought here as well. And the idea being that we would be here, be a part of this civilization, the culture we were deposited into, and we would be able to try to make a beneficial difference. And when the time came, then our talents might be called upon, depending upon world conditions and, another host of criteria that I really don't know. But from that point forward, I grew up in the hills of Kentucky. When I was 18, I left. Didn't go back. And for the first, quite a number of years, I struggled with my abilities, because you see, on the farm, it wasn't acceptable to be able to do the things that I could do, which basically knowing things you're not supposed to know. In other words, being psychic, repairing, fixing, I call it, people or animals that are broken. That was too spooky for those folks. And I had learned through a lot of chastisement and experience, not being accepted, to keep these stories to myself. Now, all the while growing up, I would say all the while, but for about 5 years in those years between, let's say, 12 to 17, I was having an ongoing set of experiences where I was in contact with what folks now call an extraterrestrial intelligence, a group that I met with frequently back in the hills, away from people, and we were quite a ways away from people. They taught me a great number of things, and I think the reason why I was chosen, selected out, was because they were the ones who brought me here in the first place. So they wanted to better prepare me for life here. When I turned 18, they told me to go out into the world and be like everyone else, experience life on this planet, and try to remember who I am. I did, but life on this world is very different than other places, and it's occasionally, well, not just occasionally, I guess, it frequently was difficult to contend with. Holidays, Easter, Christmas, things like this, they really had no meaning to me. Money really had no meaning to me. I didn't, because I grew up very poor, so money was never something that seemed to matter. You just had what you needed, and that was enough. When I left home, it was under the circumstance that it was time to go out, do something, get a job, whatever. My aspirations at the time, I wanted to be a hippie and play music, but it just never really materialized. But I always admired that lifestyle, that gypsy-esque lifestyle. And I did a lot of moving around, traveling around as best as I could, but all the while incapable of really relating my abilities to anyone. And then fast forward to about 42 years old, I was at a crossroads, really, because of a set of unusual circumstances that's really best explained in a 2-hour episode of Fantastic Journey that's on our Patreon site. I can give you that information if you would like it. But there was a set of really fantastic things that happened while in Peru that brought me to a point to where I had to make a decision. Either continue living life the way that I had, or to shift gears and do what I had come here to do, which I really wasn't clear what that meant. But that was the instruction that I was, actually the options that I was given. There was no instruction to do one or the other. I decided to do what I came here to do, and I was told, well, life is going to change for you very radically. It did. You see, before all this, anytime I would attempt talking about healing people or seeing auras or knowing the future or any of that stuff, I mean, anything psychic, I was made fun of, and I was made to feel like a fool. I didn't like that feeling, but that's just how it was. My role in life, apparently, was to own and operate the business or businesses that I had running, and to produce a nice income and have things and do what everyone else was doing. But that really wasn't my view. I just saw money as a means of keeping score, like you're playing a game, and the more points you have, the more you're winning. Well, I had to do something different. And without getting too long-winded into this, I ended up meeting someone because I was told I was going to, told by a shaman who knew nothing about me, who said that I was going to meet the woman with the golden hair, that she lived in the heart, and that she was the one. Well, those are all quite vague and ambiguous until you really distill it down to what he was actually saying. Because I said, well, where? What do you mean in the heart? And he tapped on a map of the U.S. and pointed to Kansas City. Says she lives there. He says, no, that's where you meet her. So, well, where does she live? She lives in the heart. He tapped around some more, tapped on to Lincoln, Nebraska. That's where she lives, he said. Well, as it turns out, I met Kathy in Kansas City, and she lived in Lincoln, Nebraska. And the moment that our hands touched, there was something that happened between the two of us that was incredible. It was a manifestation of such enormous energy that nothing else existed except for her and I, for just a briefest instance in time. And of course, needless to say, after several trying months of going through divorce and having my own personal hell to go through because of all of that, we ended up getting together, and we're together now and have been for 22 years. And she's the girl with the golden hair, and for sure now she lives in the heart, my heart. And it's because of her that I decided to open this up to a public arena. Because before that, I was really very intimidated to do that. But she convinced me that instead of doing all these business things I was doing, that my real purpose here was to help people. And because of that, she walked beside me, gave me strength and confidence, and very clearly illustrated that what I was capable of doing to help others wasn't just evident to her, but it would become evident to everyone else. And since then, there have been thousands and thousands of people that I've helped. Many of them weren't expected to live. I've made a difference in the world because of what I've tried to do to help others. I haven't been able to help everyone. You know, you just can't help everyone. I'm not God. But I've been able to help quite a few. And the entire reason that it's come down to this point where I am now is completely because of Kathy. Without her, none of this would have occurred. I'm quite certain of it.
Wow. Wow, what a beautiful story.
Man. Yeah. I'm almost speechless here, sitting listening to this.
That's lovely. When you do help people, before you help them, how do you navigate that conversation? That I'm not God, and this may or may not work. It's between you and God. I mean, because I would imagine everybody is just so heavily, hoping that you can help them.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Well, what I tell folks, and it's become quite refined and to the point over the years because I felt like I needed to go into greater detail, in the beginning, but now I think folks get it. I just tell them, I don't know if I can help you or not. I don't. The only way we're going to find out is if I try. But if I don't try, then I know absolutely that I can't help you. And if you're willing to have me try, then I'm willing to try. And then we find out. And I tell them up front, this might work, it might not. I have no way of knowing. I think the reason I don't know ahead of time, just my own, imagination here perhaps.
Yeah.
But, it would be human nature, wouldn't it, to only choose the people that you know that you could help?
Of course.
Yeah.
And you would have like this track record that's unbelievable, but there'd be so many people who would feel left out or bitter or resentful because you wouldn't at least try to help them. And why would you try? You already knew you couldn't. So I don't know who I can help. And sometimes people have things wrong with them because that's part of their path.
Right.
And sometimes people have something wrong with them because this is how they allow others to give love to them. So it's a matter of receiving or giving love in some respect. But it's also a matter of a person's path through life on their journey back to God, Creator, Source, however you imagine that word to be expressed.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and for some people, transitioning is their healing, right?
Well, yeah, I think so. I mean, I've seen quite clearly with the thousands of folks that I've worked with that no one goes until it's their time to go. Unless, of course, they decide to pull the trigger.
Right.
Yeah, I guess that happens too.
But I've had people who were terminally ill, that were in a lot of pain, and they were in their final days. This one woman in particular, in an area outside of Chappaqua, New York, she was in terrific pain, cancer all over her body. All she wanted was to just not have the pain for the last few days so she could really enjoy the last days with her family and sleep well. That's all she asked for. So I worked on her, and that's exactly what happened. I told her, you have 3 days. And in this instance, that's what I could see very clearly. And in 3 days, she left. In other instances, there was a man who was a photographer for the Kennedys. He had had a stroke. His body was failing. He was in very bad shape. He wanted to stay alive long enough to have a moment to just see his son and say he was sorry. He couldn't talk, but he could type. He could write scribbly on a chalkboard, really. It wasn't even typing. And he asked me if I would do everything that I could to keep him alive for just a few more days. So I did. And that's quite a story. But the end result was his son never showed up.
Wow.
So he said it was time to go, thanked me for helping him, asked me if I would help him, and I said, yeah, I will at a distance. I left, went home, and sent him some energy, and 2 hours later, he passed away. But those are people who passed away. There are so many who didn't. People who were not expected to live, that suddenly everything changed.
Yes.
Yeah.
What is that experience like for you when you're doing it?
Well, it's like having a front row seat to miracles because I don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
So I do my part, and then I wait and see what happens. And it's quite an experience, really. I mean, as a healer, a lot of healers say, oh, well, you have to protect yourself and don't want to get, not cooties, but I use the word cooties. You don't want to get the bad energy on you. You don't want to take it on yourself and blah, blah, blah. But that's such a bad approach. There isn't anything that anyone else has that's going to hurt you unless you're full of fear and apprehension.
Yeah.
And then maybe it could. But in my experience, when I help a person, I try to feel what they're feeling, experience what they're experiencing, and go right into the depths of that darkness with them. Because when I do, and I pull them out, then, I get to experience the difference in how that feels as well.
It's so interesting.
I see we have 3 minutes left to the break here, and after the break, I think we want to venture into a little bit more about what people can do for themselves. Because when I was sitting in Jerry's motorhome there, we were talking, there was so much knowledge that came through that I really want to hear about this. I want to hear it on the air because that will help a lot more people.
Awesome.
So,
yeah, of course.
Yeah. And now you are you're up in the Phoenix area now, and are you planning any trips or anything, going anywhere?
As soon as this restriction on travel evaporates, we're going to be taking off and going to different places.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, we're just about 35 miles north of Phoenix in the desert.
Yeah. In
Just
Black
waiting
Canyon?
in the heat. Yeah, Black Canyon City.
Yeah. Oh, it's nice up there.
It is beautiful.
Yeah. But now also what we are going to experience here, you have told us a little bit about your background, and it's incredible. I know a lot more of that story, and I tell you, I wish we had 4 hours because I'm going to squeeze the rest out of you. But I tell you, this is so phenomenal that I absolutely recommend for people to go to your website, and please tell them their website so we also get that before the break, and we will repeat it again. So let them know where they can go and see what you can do and read some of the stories.
Sure, it's Patreon, so it's patreon.com/expeditions. That's XPEDITIONS. Expeditions without an E at the front. Patreon.com/expeditions. That is a membership site. And for as little as $2, you can get in and watch everything we have there, all the archives. There's a lot more there if you go higher, of course. But if you're interested in some aspects of the story I just told you, look for Fantastic Journey.
Yeah, that's good. And we got less than 30 seconds left. Let's come back after the break and talk more with Jerry Wills. And we will hear the rest of the story, which is going to be very good.
This is the Broadcast Team Alpha Show, hosted by Nori Love and Augie Nost. The one show that takes your doubts of the unknown and spins them into reality. Share your thoughts by calling our hotline number at 702-425-9230. That's 702-425-9230. Call now. Worldwide callers use Skype name KCOR Radio. More cutting-edge conversation and exploration of the quantum universe after this.
Do you want the story behind the story? Then tune in Tuesday at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern for Paranormal Rewind.
Enter a world of the twisted and deformed.
The mics are hot as author Sam Baltrusis and paranormal tech guru Keith Bailey take you behind the scenes with Paranormal Rewind.
Paranormal Rewind.
A show that transports you back in time and re-examines featured TV shows, radio broadcasts, and books that made the paranormal what it is today.
Sound good?
This mind-bending as well as engaging 1-hour show will feature some of the best para-celebrities, investigators, and authors from around the world.
It's okay. There's nothing wrong with that.
Come visit paranormal pop culture's most terrifying and memorable cases today. Paranormal Rewind, Tuesdays at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern, exclusively on the KCOR Digital Radio Network.
Great. It's great. I think it's great. I think it's
The all-new KCOR Digital Radio Network.
great.
Make a note of it.
It's great.
If ever a breed was affectionate to a fault, it's the Golden Retriever. They're people dogs, pure and simple. And the Golden Retriever Rescue of Southern Nevada needs your help. If you would like to volunteer, foster, adopt, or donate, go to the Golden Retriever Rescue of Southern Nevada's website at grrsn.org. That's grrsn.org. Or call 598-GOLD. That's 598-GOLD.
Teens in foster care will love you, even if you don't know the lingo.
Dad bod, noun. The result of the occasional donut, always washed down with confidence.
Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council. Visit adoptuskids.org.
Looking for a radio show like no other?
We need something brand new.
Then tune into the KCOR Digital Radio Network, Tuesdays at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, and get ready for The Quantum Shift. A great shift of consciousness is sweeping across the Earth. Are you ready for the dimensional shift?
It is amazing, is it not?
The Quantum Shift. Quantum Shift. Quantum Shift. Hosted by Dr. Sam Muggsy and Kent Dunn. Be part of the fifth dimensional reality, where consciousness prevails and the universal law of one is the only true reality. The Quantum Shift. Quantum Shift. Quantum Shift. Live Tuesdays, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. Exclusively on the KCOR Digital Radio Network.
Going live.
Come explore the quantum possibilities. This is Broadcast Team Alpha.
Broadcast Team Alpha.
To be on the show live, call 702-425-9230. That's 702-425-9230. Worldwide callers use Skype name KCOR Radio. Share your thoughts of the show on Twitter at KCOR Radio, #KCOR. Or join the cutting edge conversation live in our chat room at KCORradio.com. Now back to Broadcast Team Alpha with your free thinking hosts, Nori Love and Augie Nast.
Augie?
Yes, I had to unmute myself again.
Oh my goodness, I know. I'm like, okay, he said he was good. Did he say he was going to come back? He was going to bring us back, but he didn't bring us back. Who's bringing us back? Okay, hello, we're back.
Yeah, I guess we're bringing him back. Hey, we are all back, and I think in this segment we should really go into some of the knowledge that he has on health, healing, and what he does, what he can actually do for people, both as a group of people and individually, because I know you also do some things for groups from time to time. So maybe we could talk a little bit about that, Jerry.
Yeah, of course. How do you want to start it?
Well, first of all, maybe a little bit about what you do, and then, these days with the virus scam and everything out there, maybe we could talk about immunities and how people can protect themselves and so on.
Certainly. Well, for groups of people, I have in the past offered classes. And the classes, a lot of folks think that the classes are so you can develop your skills as a healer. But that's not really the case. Instead, what I do or have done is teach people how to acquire greater skill with whatever psychic ability that they feel they have. so that they can become more proficient. Because of the workload, because there's people all over the world now who contact me. So I don't really have a lot of time where I can teach classes between traveling and the shows I produce with my wife Kathy and all of that. I don't have a lot of time. So what I did is I recorded 3 different classes that I specifically engineered so that they would duplicate what they were done while I was teaching these classes anyway. It was recorded live. And they're called the Gateway Experience. Now, if you're interested in this, folks, where you can find it is go to jerrywills.com. WILLS, Wills, Jerry Wills with a J.com. Look for the Gateway Experience. You'll find it. There are 3 classes there. Now, unlike a lot of other people that teach classes for hundreds of dollars, I always thought that was kind of goofy, because it means that, well, if a person doesn't have much money, they're not going to have access to it, and, well, the folks who don't have much money might be the ones that would actually benefit the most. So I kept these down to around, I don't know, $20, let's say, for a class. And these classes are hour and a half, roughly, each. And they're experiential classes, so that you can go from a very beginning place where you don't know much of anything, but you want to, all the way to the point where you move things by focusing your energy on them. And I do that in 3 classes. And a lot of folks that have taken these, and they have the results that they were hoping for. I would say it's probably like the healing. Not everyone gets the same results, but it's an acquired thing. Like learning to play a guitar or some other musical instrument, you have to put in the time in order to actually get proficient. But if you use those techniques and focus in on them, then you should be able to do the same things that are shown in the classes and develop your own skill set with whatever it is, whether it's psychometry or ghost hunting or psychic ability of some sort. You'll be able to do that. I'm confident you can. There are other classes I'm going to produce. I did these a few years ago, and I just wanted to see what the results would be. They've been favorable. So I probably will soon be thinking in terms of the next round of classes, because there are a few other classes that I know that I could teach that would just take it from where you end up on class 3 to where you could go even further. There's a lot of stuff out there to know. And I always tell folks, keep in mind, this is not the end all. This is not the ultimate thing, because there are a lot of folks out there who have very specialized talents and abilities and skills, and they're good teachers. Instead, what I'm doing is just another tool in your toolbox, just something else, something to help you along the road, so that you can become a little bit more proficient with what I teach. Then go to someone else and learn what they teach. You start applying all these things together, you become quite good. And it's not impossible. It's very doable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and these classes, some of them go into healing and how to keep ourselves healthy also. So maybe talk about that a little bit.
Well, not so much the classes. There are other productions that I have out there, like the ones in Patreon, for example, for our supporting members. I have a lot of information there, because I periodically go on and just dump a load of information so that folks can benefit from it, and I can tell your listeners some of that information that I think is very well needed at this time.
Yeah.
So first of all, people have a tendency to think that they want to boost their immune system. The word boost is a misnomer, because there is no such thing as boosting your immune system. You can improve the reaction response. But it's important to remember that if you're going to do anything that's going to increase your immune system, that there are a few criteria that need to be met. And it's simple stuff. For example, what vitamins are you using? What nutrients are you using? And I don't know what that is. but you have to be thinking about these things. So I help to guide people in the members area anyway, what my suggestions are. Then past that point, then we get into what can you do to improve your immune system response. Well, the first thing to remember, or to really not remember, but to recognize, is that your immune system response is kind of like lifting weights. You have resistance and then a lack of resistance when you're lifting weights. Mm-hmm. That is going to tax your system and make it stronger. All right, so with the immune system response, it's important to know that making it more viable requires something very similar. Your immune system is going to react much more favorably and much more quickly if you have a certain number of things going on in your body. And of course, everyone knows the food you eat, the water you drink, the exercise you get, and so forth. That's all part of it. But the other part of it is how to strengthen the immune system response, how to improve it. Well, in doing that, what you want to do is you want to start using nutrients that are specifically, I would say designed, because it's not the right word, but they're specifically efficient, let's say, at causing your immune system to respond more quickly and more dynamically. So let's take, for example, this whole thing with the COVID-19. Some people think that it's real. Others are questioning whether it is or not. I'm somewhere in between. I've not seen anyone with it, but I think that I had it. So that's why I'm somewhere in between. I don't have empirical evidence to say, yeah, you had it, Kathy and I both. But we did have all the symptoms. But this was back before it was ever announced. This was back late December into early January when it was at its worst for us. Lasted a couple of weeks. And then following that, 6 to 8 weeks longer, a lingering cough, and then it finally evaporated and we were back relatively healthy afterwards. Well, what do you do? What do you do to try to improve your body's ability to resist this? Now, if you listen to the news, you'll hear them talk about zinc and a Z-Pack, which is an antibacterial thing that you take, and also hydroxychloroquine. The problem here is that for the black community and the Mediterranean community, they're going to be very susceptible to what happens to them with hydroxychloroquine. It can cause issues with the heart. Let's examine how the heart works for a moment and what hydroxychloroquine does. Hydroxychloroquine is going to turn on sugar burning in the cells. Now, cells burn sugar anyway, but you can turn them on so they burn even more sugar. Cancer is one of those things that causes the cells to burn more sugar, for example. But the heart, it exists as a fat-burning muscle. If you turn off sugar burning, you're going to affect the heart. And that's not me saying it. This is research that I've done, and this is actually, there's empirical data to support it. You have to go digging, but you'll find it. Now, it seems to me that since the virus requires sugar burning, it invades the cell, it turns on sugar burning. The reason why hydroxychloroquine works, to my understanding, is that it starts pulling the chloroquine, which is, toxic to the virus and to cells, but it pulls it in, tries to digest and use it as fuel, and it kills the virus. So it does work, but at the cost of changing fat burning to sugar burning, not only in the cells, but in the heart. That's not good. Now, the other way to go against this virus is to turn off sugar burning. Now, that's quite a thing, and really quite a valid approach. Because if you turn off sugar burning, the virus is going to be exhausted. It doesn't have enough fuel in order to replicate, and the cell is going to die and be washed out of the body. The virus will die. In order to turn on fat burning, there are several things that you would use. The top of the list, which some people will grab the sides of their heads and go, no, but it's true. The top of the list is going to be cannabis. Cannabinoids cause the body to turn on sugar burning. You consume cannabis, not necessarily eating it, not necessarily smoking it rather, but instead eating it as a substance, like it's been infused into something, butter, candy, cookie, whatever. It turns on fat burning. So that's a good thing. It also does the body a lot of good. One of the major hormonal systems in the body produces cannabinoids. So consequently, you're just putting in more of what your body should already be producing enough of anyway. But if you're with some kind of illness, then that's probably been compromised. Putting it in is going to help. Mm-hmm. The second thing that you'd want to do is you'd want to use a nutrient. It's an amino acid, and it's called N-acetylcysteine. So it's easier to remember as N as in Nancy, A as in Alpha, C as in Charlie. Now with NAC, you're causing the body to do a whole range of things because NAC is quite powerful, but you have to take enough. Now, according to Dr. Robert Melamede, who is a PhD geneticist, he's a friend of ours, what you would use, according to him, and what we use because he suggested it, is 2.4 grams of this a day. And the way we do it is we use 1.2 grams in the morning on an empty stomach, and then in the evening 1.2 grams again on an empty stomach. You want it in an empty stomach because you want it to be absorbed into the liver. If it's not, then it's going to be unused, and if you're eating other food with it, then it's going to be, well, questionable how well this is going to work. Now keep in mind, if you're using N-acetylcysteine, NAC, on an empty stomach, as I mentioned, it's a powder or it's a pill. Either way, it works just the same. You want to continue using this in a long-term way. In other words, you don't want to use it one day and skip a few days and go back and use it again, because it'll just, fluctuate things back and forth to where it's not going to really offer that much protection. Mm-hmm. Now, N-acetylcysteine also helps to clear the lungs, which is very useful if you've got the flu or this virus or whatever. Now, if you're going to be using an amino acid like N-acetylcysteine, you also should, and I would say really must, be using a full spectrum B vitamin. In other words, a B100 or a B150. This is 100 or 150 milligrams of all the B vitamins. Your liver needs this in order to synthesize the amino acid into a usable component that your body can benefit from. The one we use, for example, it's made by Vitamin Code. It's called Raw B Complex. You can find all this stuff on Amazon, by the way. It's very easily acquired. Yeah. Now, aside from that, the next item is going to be vitamin D, as in David, 3. Now, most people are thinking, well, I should be taking D3. Some are taking 500 milligrams, some are taking 5,000 milligrams. But of all the people I speak to, they're very confused. They don't know if 5,000 is too much or if 500 is too little. So I'm going to clear it up for you folks. Mm-hmm. 5,000 is not enough. The minimum amount you'd want to take is 10,000 units a day, again on an empty stomach. You want it to be absorbed to your system rapidly. And if you want to go to maximum benefit, according to Robert Melamede, and we found this to be true, you would use 15,000 units in the morning with the N-acetylcysteine and the B vitamins, and another 15,000 units at night when you're doing the N-acetylcysteine. And well, you don't need to take the B vitamins more than once a day, of course, but you want to use the 15,000 units of D3 in the evening as well. That's 30,000 units of D3 a day. It seems like a lot.
I got a question. When you take it on an empty stomach, is there a chance that the stomach acid could break it down, or would it be better to drink a lot with it so it dilutes the stomach acid to get it into the intestine, or is there any concerns like that?
Well, it really depends on the person. That's where it gets a little tricky. Yeah. But I suspect that if you drank a glass of water, with this, that you're going to be just fine.
Yeah.
Because really what's going to happen is going to hit your stomach. Your stomach will see it as pretty much a non-event, like if you were to drink water. It'll pass it down into the duodenum, the small intestine, and the nutrients will flow back into the liver from there, or be absorbed into the small intestine and to the bloodstream, and of course cycle into the liver again. Where it becomes a little sketchy is that when people get a little older, they're losing their hormonal structure, and when that happens, the stomach acid could become a lot more concentrated because because the hormonal system is not supporting their body well enough anyway. A good example of this is what we see quite frequently in folks, and that would be a lack of testosterone in their body. Women go through menopause, and I'll use this as the example, but the same thing happens for men. But because it's a rather dramatic way of illustrating this, I'll use a woman as the example, but men, don't think that it doesn't include you, because you have your own thing with this as well. So a woman will go through menopause. The reason why menopause happens is because a woman has, first of all, in her body, created testosterone. That's first. Not estrogen, testosterone. First thing. Now a woman's body is going to convert 90% of that testosterone into estradiol, which is estrogen. And the other estrogenetic compounds that a woman needs are derived from testosterone. When you don't have enough testosterone, you're going to go through menopause. That's just what's going to happen. Women, by and large, don't know this. Well, when you don't have enough testosterone, your lymphatic system isn't working properly. A lot of things aren't working properly. If you've gone through menopause, any of you listening, you know that to be a fact. One of the things that doesn't work properly is the mucous membranes. The amount of moisture they produce comes from the lymphatic system. And if there's not enough moisture there, then the stomach acids would be higher, and that leads to ulcerations and other things like that. But it basically takes you to a point to where you don't have enough moisture in your body. And so that's one of those caveats that you need to have things sort of in the right place for it to happen the way it's supposed to. But you keep in mind, with what I just said, that moisture in your body, it isn't just your stomach acids, it's your mucous membranes. And it goes into your lungs, your esophagus, your airway, your sinuses, everything.
Yeah. Yeah, and I see there are some other byproducts of this too, and that is weight loss, as far as I can understand. If the balance of testosterone and if it's correct, then that is one of the byproducts, or should I say the good side effects, as well as maybe even slowing down the aging process a little bit.
Well, Kathy and I have been doing this for over 11 years. Kathy actually more like 12. She's stopped aging.
Yeah.
So have I. There are no side effects to replacing the testosterone. But you have to do it the right way. There is a right way to do it. And the only way really right now is to use Sotto-Pelli therapy. It's spelled Sotto, P as in Paul, ELLE, therapy.com. That's the only way to do it effectively. Everything else is very marginal. Creams, and women get testosterone, or estrogen cream all the time when they go through menopause, which is ridiculous, in my opinion. I mean, estrogen comes from testosterone. If you don't have enough estrogen, now you know why.
Yeah. I see we have 3 minutes left of the show here, so we're getting down towards the end.
It goes quickly, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. Any other good points that in relation to this that you want to bring out?
Well, just if folks are interested, they can always take a look at that Patreon. It's patreon.com/expeditions, X, not EX, but XPEDITIONS. Become a member. You have access to me. If you need help, I can certainly help you. If you want to book a session with me, you can always go to jerrywills.com. There's a way there that you can book a session, and I do them every day or most days. So, those are a couple of resources folks can use. And, of course, I do also do a lot of live broadcasts on our public Facebook page, which is facebook.com/expeditions, again, with the X, but then add TV at the end of expeditions, and there you have it. That's my Facebook page. You'll see they're smiling, singing to a skull with sunglasses on.
Yeah, okay. I tell you though, Nori and I, we are supporters on Patreon with you because of the one of the programs that we are doing, and I would never miss it because there's so much good information. And I also watch you on Facebook when you have your shows, and it is almost like listening to a library. There is so much coming there.
Well, thank you for that, Augie. I really appreciate it, and we're very thankful to have you both as part of our community. It means a lot to us.
Yeah, and there we are, 30 seconds left. So I want to thank you very much, Jerry, for being with us.
Thank you, Jerry.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
And next week, we will be back again with another show. And until then, be good to each other.
You've been listening to Broadcast Team Alpha.
Broadcast Team Alpha.
Hosted by Nori Love and Augie Nost. Every Tuesday night at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern, exclusively on the KCOR Digital Radio Network. The balance of power is shifting to a new paradigm. Will you be ready? For more information on Broadcast Team Alpha, as well as the hosts Nori Love and Augie Nost, please visit their website at broadcastteamalpha.com. Until next week, remember to keep those minds open while always exploring the endless quantum possibilities.
Broadcast Team Alpha. Over and out.
This is KCOR Las Vegas, home of the Digital Radio Network, broadcasting from a shack just south of Area 51.
Wait, that doesn't exist.
This is the KCOR Digital Radio Network. Now for the news.